In this lesson, we're going to see how can we manipulate video in many different ways. Let's take a look. As you can see, I imported many other videos around here, and you're going to find them all in the resources section of this class. To show you the first steps about how to manipulate video, I'm just going to grab one talking head video like this. I'm going to select a small portion, we don't need a lot of it, and I'm going to add it to the timeline. Okay, so we have it here now, and as you can see, it was filmed horizontally, but it was meant to be a vertical video. So let's zoom in so we can see the whole preview here. And as you noticed, I changed this to 9:16 so that it's already in vertical format. So first thing, obviously, let's rotate this video. Everything you want to do, you want to click first on the clip over here on the timeline, and then it's going to be selected on the preview. You can see already the handles all around it for you to manipulate it manually properly. And also here on the right, you're going to be able to find all of the things that you can do with it. And mainly this first portion here can be done by dialing a number. So for example, let's say rotate, and you want to rotate 90 degrees. It's going to rotate it clockwise 90 degrees. You can use this dial over here to do it manually like this, or you can do it on the preview panel properly and just go rotating, and you're going to be able to see how many degrees you're rotating on the top. But anyways, not to go crazy with it, you could just go 90 if it was turned to one side, or you can also use negative numbers here. So you could do minus 90 and it would go to the right way. Scale can be changed by the percentage over here, or you can also change it using the handle over here. But what I would recommend you is to use the handles here in the preview panel because they snap to the angles, so you can know exactly when it's big enough to cover the whole screen. And that's how easy it is to manipulate video over here. Now, to take it one extra step, you could maybe want to animate this. And this takes us to the concept of keyframes. It's basically telling the software at a certain point in time what are going to be the parameters, and then telling in another point in time what are the parameters you want there. So for example, let's say we want to zoom in on this image very slowly, and in this point here we want it exactly as it is. So you can come up here to the right, and you're going to be able to notice that there are these diamond shapes over here, and these are the keyframe setters. As you can see, you can do it for scale, position, rotation, all of these. As an example, let's do it just for the scale right now. So I'll add a keyframe right here, and I will know that this point is marked. So let's go forward a little bit, let's say maybe up to here, and let's set another keyframe by clicking on the same logo. Add keyframe, okay. And now let's say that we want it to be zoomed in about here. And what the software is going to be is going to understand that you want to go from point A to point B, and it's just going to make that sequence flow. So for example, now, if you click here on this sign pointing to the left, we're going to go back to the previous keyframe. And now very slowly, you're going to see that it's zooming in, either by the handles here or also by the number on the side here that just keeps increasing. And as I said, you can do it for any of the other parameters like rotation, position, whatever you want. Next up is the blending mode, and this one is more complicated to understand if I don't give you an example. So I'll just import this clip of fire on top here of our footage, and you're going to see that it just doesn't make any sense. I'll make it a little bit bigger, and now it's covering the whole image we had before. But if we play now with the blending mode, like for example brighten, it's going to keep only the brighter parts of that video clip. And then now you get an effect like this, in which you can still see the layer below, but on top you have the bright parts of the clip we just inserted. And each blending mode here is going to do something a little bit different. You can experiment and see, because for each type of footage the effect is going to be a little bit different. But mainly the ones that I use a lot are screen and overlay, because they keep the brightest parts of the images, so you can use something like this, for example, on top of your footage. And you might think, okay, this has no use for me, but probably you saw this being used many times already on social media, especially when you've seen these ones over here. Let me delete the fire, and let's add a little piece of a drone shot over here and change it to original. So now you've got this very cool video layer over here. Then you can come up here to the blending mode and choose darken, for example, and voila. Now you have this old film effect on top of your footage. Still in the blending mode, you're going to find the opacity slider, and this is going to say how transparent this layer is. From 100%, in which you see it completely, and going down, you're going to begin seeing what's exactly below the drone layer, which is my talking head video over here. This can be used if you want to mix two images together. Next up is stabilization, and this is totally crazy inside Capcut. I'm going to show you two different clips. The first one is this, in which you can definitely see that there's some movement because everything is handheld. And if you want to make it a little bit smoother, you just go through stabilize, you click on the clip, you come to stabilize, and you have the choice of doing recommended, minimum cut, or most stable, because the software is going to zoom in and try to compensate for the movement. After you select which one you want, so for example in this one recommended, you're gonna be able to see this. It's a little bit of a zoomed in version, but all the movement is very smooth and looks very, very nice. So let's put it to the test and try something a little bit more extreme. This one is a completely handheld moving shot, and every step of the way you can actually feel the camera jumping up and down. And doing the most stable stabilization option inside Capcut, you get this, in which you can still feel the steps, but it's so much better. Now you gotta be a little bit careful about this one because it makes things a little bit wobbly all around. So depending on the footage and depending on how shaky it is, the results are gonna be different. So observe it very well before saying that it's done, but still you can do miracles with this thing. Next up, we have two different options that are available only in the Pro version, but actually you can test them with the free version of Capcut, but when you try to export, it's gonna tell you that it's available only for Pro, so you're gonna have to pay before you can have your final video ready. The first one is noise reduction, and this is meant to reduce a little bit of that noise, especially when you're filming with high ISO at night. And this is quite insane. Check out this clip done right before sunrise, and you can see that from here it doesn't look that bad, but when you go in a little bit, you're gonna be able to see that the sky is full of these dots, which is grain from high ISO. And when you enable noise reduction, it's gonna work on the clip, and you're gonna be able to see it like this, completely clean. You do lose a little bit of definition, but depending on how bad, what's the situation of your clip, you can totally save it. Let me zoom back out. And this might just do a miracle for you. And this last one is called removing video flickers. So if you have any kind of video that just have those lights flickering because of the issue with the shutter speed you're using on the camera or on the smartphone, depending on how bad it is, you might be able to fix it using this option over here. In the previous lessons, you learned how to move around the timeline and how to adjust the video clip exactly the way you want it to be. In the next lessons, you're going to see more advanced video properties that look very complicated to do, so they add a lot of value to your video, but they're actually quite simple. See you there.